we're going to have a crash, and we're going to have a crash like a 1929 crash if she gets in. You saw a gentleman yesterday who got up, one of the top analysts in the world, frankly, and said that if Trump isn't elected, he predicts, and he's predicting you have a stock market crash like 1929.
Yeah, he's predicting that, and he's a person who exists. He's an actual person. He's out there, real person, a real boy. We're going to return to that, and we're also going to talk a little bit about Donald Trump's level of respect for the economic analyses and predictions of analysts like that. But I want to start with what you saw in the video, not what you heard in the video. I mean, obviously you heard him saying that if she gets elected, the stock market is going to crash, which is interesting because he was also saying the same thing about Biden, and he said the same thing about Biden the last time, and it hasn't happened. It kind of feels like he's just saying that, like whoever it is, he would just be saying that. That's how it feels, because that's what it is.
A storm is tearing up the digital media industry. Only our audience can save us in these difficult times. Help us reach our goal of 100,000 new members at tyt.com/team.
Rarely do you have sort of like an immediate refutation of what he's saying? Usually it takes a couple of years. Like he loses an election and the stock market doesn't crash and he looks like a doink. But that's not what is happening here. If we can bring up this graphic, you'll see that Fox News, which was obviously playing his speech live, had him talking about how the stock market is going to crash. As you see that the stock market has thus far today risen by 1.5 points, like percentage points. And yesterday ended up being a good day for the stock market. Now, again, for most of you, I don't know what percentage of the people watching this own stock. I know the stats for America more broadly. These are tough economic times and not everybody gets to be involved in the stock market, which is why generally I think an over focus on stock performance doesn't really capture the economic experience that most people have. But it's definitely the economic experience that he cares about and that Fox cares about and all the business networks and all that. And oh, what do you know, as he's saying that, things are looking pretty good. And by the way, it was just last week that they rolled out the Kamala crash narrative. Well, like it's already basically erased itself just in the last few days. And again, that's not to say that through the course of the next 80 to 90 days before we get to the election, that there won't be more volatility in the stock market or that potentially something really bad in the stock market could happen. But what you have is the cheerleading of bad things. You have them just hoping, praying that anything bad happens, even if it like devastates conservative 401ks or whatever, even if it's really bad, it leads to job losses and all that. They just want it to happen. Donald Trump is not literally praying for economic catastrophe because I don't believe he believes in any higher power than himself. But if he did, he definitely would be. Now, before we go to commentary from our guest, you should know that very soon after the video we showed you, they took down that Dow watch. I don't know, maybe they were worried that he was going to keep looking like an idiot, so they avoided giving him that opportunity by taking it down. And of course, they're putting up their chyrons about credit card debt going really high, which is good, that's important. But like they could put up other chyrons if they wanted to. They could put that, inflation is down to the lowest level it's been in 3 years or something like that. Like they could do this sort of stuff if they were like a serious news network. But joining us now to discuss Donald Trump's apocalyptic predictions for the stock market, should Kamala Harris be elected as president, we have the one, the only Jordan Uhl. How's it going, Jordan?
John, it's great to be here. What a great setup on this story.
Thank you. I saw you watching it the whole time and just enjoying it. But anyway, Donald Trump is predicting that there's going to be a depression. It's what he says all the time. He said it before 2020. And as he's doing it, Fox has like the Dow is skyrocketing, like right on the screen. I just think it's kind of funny.
Yeah. Well, you see this with Republicans all the time. Whenever there's a slight downturn, even if temporarily, it is the result of Democratic policies. Whenever the market rebounds, whenever it reaches a new all-time high, that's never because of Democrats. When he was president, would often take credit for the Dow reaching new highs, but Biden has even shattered those records. Does Biden get credit for that? No, of course not. But also, we have to acknowledge the stock market and its collective performance is not reflective of the overall economy. And they want to talk about inflation. They want to talk about the price of consumer goods. Yesterday, JD Vance posed for a picture with another member of Congress as they were highlighting their affection for Diet Mountain Dew. and inadvertently included the Wall Street Journal with a headline, A1 top story, inflation at its lowest point since 2021. So even like they can't even escape the good policy gains and the good economic gains that the Biden administration has overseen. It's always negative. It's always spin. And just ask yourself, if you're still on the fence, do you think Trump's policy of cutting corporate taxes permanently while having a sunset provision in individual tax cuts is good for you, or is it better for corporations? And now he wants to double down on that. It doesn't take somebody who has a master's or a PhD in economics to realize that's really not good for the working person.
Yeah, 100%. Look, but again, if people just paid attention and saw what happens under different administrations, I mean, the story of the last few decades would be like, it's devastating for the Republican Party. Like Clinton had all of his issues or whatever, but obviously the economy did very well by the end of his term. And then George W. Bush comes in, and then things aren't looking so good, and we have the crash. And then Obama comes in, and things are going good. And then Trump maintained it mostly through his first term, and then everything crashed. And some Republicans would be like, well, that's not on him, that's the pandemic. Yeah, but he made the pandemic as bad as it could have possibly been. And hey, what do you know? Biden comes in and helps us to recover. And what seems to be the pattern is Democrats patch things enough, improve things enough that people are like, okay, I guess we can do something crazy now and put a Republican just in time to ruin things once again. Hopefully, we will not have that historic pattern in this particular case. Now, we've been saying this whole time that it's Trump is saying that there's going to be a crash. He cited one analyst. I don't think he said who it was. So I'm going to assume that the person literally doesn't exist. But even if he gave a name, he'd probably be making it up. But I will remind you that at one point, 16 Nobel Prize winning economists warned that Trump's economic plans could reignite inflation, to which he slammed them as worthless because they're out of touch. And yeah, okay, well, I'm sure that the one he's got is better than that whole pile of Nobel laureates or whatever. But we'll have to wait to see if he actually names them. When you click the join button and become a tier 2 member, you get access to all of our weekly top 10 lists. What are you waiting for?